Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk. This is the show where we talk all things Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And in today's video we're going to be discussing that amazing cliffhanger at the end of Supergirl Season 3, what's going on with Kara, why is she in Siberia, and what could this mean for Season 4. So let's discuss. So if you've been keeping up with Supergirl this season, you would have of course seen that finale cliffhanger where we saw Kara land in Siberia, where she appeared in front of these soldiers in what appeared to be a military camp, and we see her looking very confused, very almost sedated, in a almost, kind of drugged state, I guess you could call it. I mean, visually this is what it looked like. I'm not saying that's what it is, but she appears in what looks like a cloak of some sort, and there's no dialogue exchange, there's nothing said. However, you can kind of get the message that she's very confused about where she is and what she's doing there, which is also very reflective of the audience, as we also had no clue what she's doing there, what her purpose is, but that's what we're here to discuss today. Now, for a few hours, all of us fans yesterday were speculating about what this could mean, what it is about this cliffhanger. However, this is no longer a cliffhanger because all of the producers of Supergirl have come out and exactly told us what this kind of is. So, they have come out and told us that they are adapting the Red Sun storyline, which is a very famous Superman story from the comics. They are adapting that as the main storyline for Supergirl Season 4, and this gets me very excited. The Red Sun storyline is a very interesting, very good, very unique storyline for Superman, so to take that and adapt it to Supergirl is very interesting. This was one of the main theories that we had, given the fact that it was in Siberia. That was kind of like a big hint. There were other theories as well, that perhaps it's going to be like a time-displaced Kara, given the time travel she did in the Season 3 finale. There was also the theory that this could be a take on Overgirl, like we saw in Crisis on Earth X. But the Red Sun storyline did fit the MO pretty well. It's just we didn't really know if they were ever going to go down that route, but yes, they are. So what is the Red Sun storyline? Well, it's a story from DC Comics. It was a 3-issue arc where we saw a alternate universe kind of DC, where we saw Superman actually land in a farm, but not in Kansas, but actually in Soviet Russia. So this was kind of before the Cold War really kicked off, and basically this is where he grew up. So instead of growing up in Kansas, in Smallville, he grew up in, I believe it was Stalingrad, although I could be, it was like more like the outskirts of Stalingrad, or what was then Stalingrad. And this was a very interesting turn, because obviously Superman is known as being the big main American hero, at least at this point in time, and this was doing the complete switch of that by making him a Russian, and it was a very interesting story. As he grew up, he actually became almost a weapon of the Soviets. I think it was around the 1950s, the Soviets came out and said, oh, look what we've got, and they showed off their Superman, and this was basically a massive threat to the US, where the Cold War no longer became about weapons, it no longer became about the space race, it instead became about superhumans and also about metahumans, as the Americans were desperately scrounging to make their own kind of superhuman to battle the Soviets and to battle Superman in this otherwise Elseworld story. James Olsen was quite a prevalent character in this storyline. He became a CIA agent in this particular storyline, and he was actually working with Lex Luthor, who was a scientist here. Well, he is a scientist anyway, but he was a scientist who was actually employed by Star Labs to destroy Superman by coming up with this own thing. And it was very interesting. It's a very cool storyline. Like I said, it's very cool, especially if you're a fan of history, especially because someone like me who studied the Cold War quite a lot. It's kind of interesting to see this just, kind of Superman involved in the Cold War, especially on the Russian side. It's very interesting. So to take that storyline and adapt it to Supergirl is something I really want to see actually come to fruition, and we actually are going to be getting that. So this means next season, the main villain of the season most likely is going to be Melissa Benoist playing the villain. She's going to be that character. Now, there are some kind of trepidations there, because a lot of people say that Melissa Benoist isn't exactly the best at playing villains, because she's such kind of like, like a really good hero. She's really good, she's not any bad. Like, I quite enjoyed her as Overgirl in Crisis on Earth X, but she wasn't Supergirl. So to see her kind of go down this again. Also, I do have a fear with them kind of doing this other villain, being the same as the hero, because they did that in The Flash Season 3 with Savitar. That didn't work at all. So I really want to see how they're going to perhaps try and overcome that and make it better than Savitar, because to be honest, I don't think you can go worse than Savitar, so the only way is up, really. But there are a few trepidations going into this particular storyline when they're adapting it for the show. Now, while we will have Supergirl going on, actually battling this other Supergirl, I feel like you can actually take side characters like James Olsen, for example. Like I said, he was a CIA agent who recruited Lex Luthor. What about if in this particular version on the show, we have James Olsen actually employ Lena Luthor, who is of course his girlfriend at this point, to actually work together to try and build this thing. This would be or to try and, you know, create this weapon to fight against Supergirl, because obviously they won't need to actually create another metahuman because they already, or another alien, because they have Supergirl. So it'd be really cool to actually see that. So perhaps James Olsen will become an actual relevant character again by working with Lena to kind of come up with this weapon of some kind to give to Supergirl so that she can fight this other Russian Soviet Supergirl. And I think that would be a really good way to not only make James relevant again, but just to make Lena quite relevant to the main story, and that's something I think that's quite desperate at this point. Now, my number one burning question about all this is, who is this Kara? Is she our Kara, or is she from another time? Or is she, like, what is she? Because if she's our Kara, then that means that, you know, the Kara that we've had for the past 3 seasons of Supergirl is going to be the villain of Season 4. And I find that a weird concept to come across, because who's going to fight her? It's not like we have Mon-El anymore. He's been confirmed to leave the show for Season 4. We don't have Jean. He's most likely gone. So who's going to actually take on this character if we don't have Supergirl? So that's why I was kind of thinking, is she time displaced? I feel like a time displaced Kara would be a good way to go, because this would actually, you could tie this into the Season 3 finale. Obviously, Kara used time travel to go back in time to save Mon-El and to save Allura in order to defeat Reign. Perhaps while doing that, she created a massive ripple in the timeline, and this caused a displaced time Kara to land in the Soviet Union, hence why she became, you know, this version of Kara, or this version of Supergirl, this Soviet version of Supergirl. And that would be a way to explain it. Again, it'd be very similar to what they did on The Flash Season 3, but it's kind of the best way to do it, also to tie it in with that. And I think it'd be really awesome to do it that way. Like I said, that's my biggest question, is who is this Kara? What is her sort of deal? Where does she come from? That's kind of like my biggest question going into this, and hopefully I get it answered. I really hope this is another Kara. I don't want this to be our Kara, because if we don't have Melissa Benoist as the central hero, this is going to be lacking, because Melissa Benoist is one of the best things about the show. So without her, I feel this is going to be severely lacking. Now, there were theories out there that this character was perhaps going to become Power Girl, who is, of course, in the comics Earth 2 Supergirl. I could see that happening perhaps later on by the end of the season if they managed to perhaps redeem this character. I kind of thought maybe they were going to do that in a way with Reign, but they didn't do it. Maybe they'll do it at the end of Season 4. They'll redeem this character, she'll become Power Girl, and then go off to Earth 2, or whatever Earth they want to give her to. But then that'd be a really cool way to kind of, you know, take this character, and then we can even bring her back from time to time, which would be nice to have that, like, other Earth character, because that's something obviously that Flash does a lot. We get characters from Earth 2 like Jesse come over, Earth 3 like Jay, to come over and help on the Flash. Perhaps we could get, you know, Power Girl from, let's say, Earth 39 to come over to Earth 38 and to help Kara for an episode. I think that'd be like a really cool way to do it. And they could do it, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's pure speculation at this point. But what do you guys think is going on with here? Are you happy that this is the Red Sun storyline, or technically the Red Daughter storyline at this point? Like I said, I think this is a very good storyline of Superman in the comics, so I'm really excited to see how they adapt it for Supergirl. I think it's going to be a really cool way to have kind of, you know, kind of what the Flash Season 3 was going for, but hopefully better. And we can get, hopefully, a relevant James Olsen again. Especially now, I'm really excited, obviously, to see what they do with James next season. Same with Lena. It'd be really cool if they could employ her. I just think it'd be a really cool storyline to adapt. But tell me all your thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, be sure to head to my podcast, that is Honor Thy Podcast, which is the weekly DC TV Arrowverse podcast I do with my good friend Dan McCann, Mulekick Media. We upload videos every single week, so make sure you go over there and check out the podcast. The link is in the description. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot, and share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And with all that said guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.